Thanks to Con for asking me whether I would record a video after Learning Technologies to talk about my thoughts and reflections on the conference and the exhibition. As you can see, I'm in my cycling gear at the moment, having enjoyed a lovely cycle to the Science Park, to our offices, and a little bit of recovery after what was an incredibly manic, busy, but really exciting Learning Technologies 2015. As you may well have heard, the Wednesday of the conference had the highest number of visitors ever to the exhibition, and I think that really reflects a real drive and passion for people to start to be thinking about learning technologies in a very holistic sense and looking for some more in-depth insight into how they can enable their learning strategies. Certainly on our stand for Willow DNA, that was absolutely the case. The conversations improve year on year, and the types of conversations that we were having were very much about, I'd say probably one of the first themes or streams were specialist training organisations looking to extend their business model, looking at how they can develop a credible online business that both assures the IP that they have already and make sure that it represents their brand, but also how you create an effective online learning environment. It's not just a case of, could you digitise my content please, turn it into e-learning. It's about how do I create a credible online alternative or online complement to the work that I already do, and that's very much at the heart of what we do. So that was really exciting to hear. What other conversations do we have on this stand? I think certainly learning ecosystems, as we discussed, we thought learning ecosystems would be pretty big this year, and they certainly were. So learning ecosystems were a big topic where people were looking to maximise investments they had already made in technology, but perhaps were experiencing some frustration in so much as technology, really recognising it's not the panacea, it's about the learning need and how do you, I suppose, ensure that each and every subject area that your business covers, every discipline, every business driver that you're trying to address has the right type of learning environment to support it, that learning is very much at the heart of work. You know, we hear a lot this year about putting learning at the heart of work and into the workflow. We were having lots of conversations about how learning portals could essentially aggregate a lot of the structured, social, informal, peer networks, collaboration networks, your existing enterprise LMS, all that sort of thing. So it's really nice to see all of those threads coming together in a strategic way. And certainly needs analysis takes on a completely different form then. This isn't a case of, okay, we've got a training need here, what do we do about it? It's about what's the business need here? How are we going to make the best of the knowledge that we have inside our organisation? How are we going to manage our talent? How are we going to stay ahead of the competition? And that's a much richer, in-depth conversation, which is great because that's the type of work that we really enjoy, so it's lovely to hear that too. Some of the other things that I think were really apparent this year were a lot more organisations wanting to extend the capability of their instructional design teams or their learning teams. So they're looking at where they can do some things themselves. As always, you know, budgets are under scrutiny. It's not necessarily that they're tight, but they're certainly under scrutiny. So having some opportunities to develop content yourself where relevant, and then outsource to organisations like ourselves where perhaps the need is more complex, was certainly something that was very important to a lot of people. I think there was a little bit of frustration, actually, I would say, from visitors this year, in so much as, I suppose, looking for something new. I don't think that means looking for something new in terms of the next gadget or the next thing or the next gimmick. I think it's that recognition that the profession's changing. There are lots of skills in-house. People are able to do a lot of this work themselves, and they're looking for organisations that are able to really support and partner with them and bring all these threads together. I think everybody's fairly well educated in terms of the LMS market and content development market. So I think now the step up really, and I think how you're going to see exhibitions and conferences of this type moving forward, are people looking for that thought leadership, looking for how they can start to orchestrate these things. And I suppose the other big issue, of course, is evaluation and measurement. It's certainly by no means that XAPI or Tin Can have gone away, but I still think there's some room to develop in that area. There's some conversations to be had. There's some scoping and definition. The technology is there. There are plenty of LRS suppliers out there. But the issue is, what do we measure? What's important? Big data is by definition big. What data is it that we should be getting at? And a lot of that is to do with that strategic analysis of where you're starting and where you're trying to go. What are the business metrics that you are that you can tap into, I suppose. And I think, again, there are some unanswered questions about how XAPI is really going to be implemented. There aren't really that many case studies out there that really demonstrate it to full effect. And certainly when we're doing our work, really it's not about whether it's XAPI or whether it's not, whether you need an LRS or whether it's not. It's absolutely about what is the business change that you're trying to achieve? What are the business metrics that are related to that? And what's the best way to measure it? XAPI could be one of those methods by which you do that, but there are a whole plethora of opportunities for evaluation, some quantitative, some qualitative. So there's a lot of interesting work, I think, coming out in that area, and I think you're going to see a lot more publications and a lot more dialogue there. So that's just a little bit of an insight into the types of conversations that I was witness to at Learning Technologies. I'm sure there's lots more. I'm hoping that there'll be a lot more videos like this from people that were in the conference and at the seminars and at the exhibitions giving their thoughts. That's just my view of the world. But it was a great show. Exhausting as ever. Had met up with some really lovely people though, and good to see some old friends and some new faces. And I'll certainly be reporting back from lots of other conferences and exhibitions as the year goes on. Thanks very much for watching.